have to be a hero of the keyboard to play this. None but the heroes of the keyboard can grasp its dense chordal masses. Bolet did it very splendidly. Berman yesterday did it sensationally.
I have a question about that. I mentioned yesterday that I had dug up a few references on Liszt, and that hurt my ears. You shouldn't do that. You should tell me you're going to do that, because I can turn your mic down. But in any event, David just turned his microphone and hit it with his fingers, so if your speakers are still there, the program is going on. There was a quotation from someone in England who said that if anyone except Liszt played the way Liszt did, that they would be punished for destroying the pianos. That apparently at one particular concert he broke strings and keys on 2 pianos.
Oh, many concerts. He had up to 7 pianos on stage at times. And they would be demolished at the end of a concert.
I mean, this is not a John Cage bit. This is...
No, he just destroyed them.
In what way? How can you destroy a piano?
And this is where so many biographers again get in trouble. They're making poor Liszt out to be this piano destructor, you know, and all he has to do is get out on stage and pound on the piano, and they were just going to fall apart. We have to understand that he's creating a new and muscular technique. Now, try to think of Liszt playing in England. You said an English commentator. This gives biographers can very easily give people bad names, you know. Now, here is poor Liszt with his 7 to 35,000 pianos on stage, which he's demolished, and cartoonists have a field day. And it happens to be that the cast iron frame that has made the piano what we know it is not something that Liszt knew himself in all places where he would play. This was invented, as a matter of fact, by Chickering in 1824. Well, Liszt is very young when he's playing in England, 1828, 9, and they don't like him yet. In fact, they don't like him until he becomes a very old man. The English are not pleased with musicians being eccentrics. Poets, acceptable. Painters, they're delighted. Musicians, they have to look like Edward Elgar, like the Prime Minister. Well, Liszt upset the emerging Victorian ethic. Anyway, this piano killer did not, to be fair to him, did not have these modern pianos yet. This doesn't really emerge until about 1835 to 40. Now, after that, he doesn't demolish pianos. He is the reason that pianos became better. So we must all be grateful to him. In other words, this muscular orchestral technique, he demands a new and better instrument, and he works in Paris with piano makers and discusses this and that. Now, we're all indebted to him for the actual modern piano that we know, which is a physical monster.
Well, the thing is that he is reported to have broken piano strings. Is it possible to pound hard enough to do that?
Yes, I just broke one recently. I didn't take care of my piano, and I played too loudly, and bang, off it went. And then for 4 weeks, until I had the courage to have it fixed up, I heard thump. Nothing else, no sound at all.
I mean, you can actually hit the key that hard on a piano.
Oh, yes, but there's something like 25,000 pounds of pressure that you can exert. It doesn't happen daily. The modern piano has something like 30,000 parts to it. It's a great complex thing, which stems out of the entire genius of the Industrial Revolution is also what the is representative in the piano. The same genius, so to speak, who creates the steam engine in the 19th century, other marvels that bring us into our own time, the railroad, is also the creator of the piano.
That's an interesting thought. I never thought of it that way.
It's the same moment in history. Yeah.
What comes after the piano?
Nothing comes after the piano.
In other words, you don't think that anything is really a successor to it? As
we have evolved, for good or bad, as far as it will go, the piano has. No, there's no successor to the piano. Because tradition will hamper that anyway. The very fact of changing something that's so much in the public's consciousness. The piano has many connotations. It's nostalgic. It's It's a symbol of prestige, power, romanticism. And these works are full of power, you see, and of this reckless kind of romanticism, as we had said. Liszt is not the genius of Chopin, this perfect master worker. He is he's out to conquer the world, especially in these pieces. But as we will see, there are many parts to this man, and he's also a lyricist. But let's now hear Vision again, the performance that will be by Louis Kentner. Vision, the sixth etude in the series of transcendentals by Franz Liszt, and a performance by Louis Kentner without the stupendous virtuosity of Bolet or Berman, but hard trying, and he does fine. It's the piece can take care of itself if you can play the notes. It just becomes stupendous if you have that extra virtuosity.
Although I thought that his interpretation seemed to be slower than either Bolet or Berman, and that it did bring out a certain amount of inner
Kentner is such a
music.
Yeah. Yes, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Matt.
That's right.
Kentner's such a fine musician that when he knows and can establish his technique, his tempo, he is going to work within it very well and very musically.
Agreed. You have a message to give, and then we'll be right back with more music.
Oh, yeah. I'm very interested in this man.
Oh, well,
yeah.
Because in a way he comes across, in everything I've read so far about him and the way you're filling in his life, to be a ranting, raving maniac. And yet when I said that yesterday in private, off mic, while the piece was playing, you said, no, he's absolutely normal. I'm quoting you almost exactly.
He's the most normal romantic, yes.
The most normal romantic. In other words, are you saying
the whole century, yes. Everyone committed suicide, went insane, took dope. Not Liszt. Every change in society, he would just change his mask. He'd become perfectly suited to the next generation. Schumann goes insane. Chopin, well, of course, others died off quickly, too, like Chopin. But he was certainly a high-strung person who... I doubt he would have had very much fun in the 1850s. He was born for those two flaming decades, the 30s and 40s. Liszt, when railroads supplanted stagecoaches, he just gave up his 12 white horses and his huge carriage and went into another act. So he changed mask, costume. On the contrary, he was very healthy. As he gets older, he presents a new image to Europe. This Apache warrior with the white hair down to his shoulders, zooming to 3 cities a year, teaching, holding court literally. Rome, Weimar, Budapest. Going on a train now instead. No longer does he wear Hungarian national costumes in concert, or the orders from every country that
the medals and so on. Yeah.
No, he's now austere, and of course he does this so well that the magnetism of the man must have been vast, because now students start coming in black gowns. I mean, almost ridiculously, they ape him. Grieg, a very conservative man in many ways, wrote while he was in Rome, when Liszt sight-read his piano concerto in A minor. And because Liszt had called Grieg down from Norway, he had spotted his talents. That's another aspect of his career that we'll get into. No man in all history has helped his fellow artist on such a grand level. Well, he asks Grieg to come down from Bergen. I'm very interested in your violin sonata. I think you have great talent. And he wanted to encourage him. Grieg instantly comes down as soon as he can get the funds.
Because of the reputation.
Yeah, right. He's very, very important. He looks at him. What do you have for me to play? Well, I just finished my new piano concerto, which, of course, is the famous A minor piano concerto of Grieg. He says, well, play it for me. Grieg says, oh, but I cannot play it. I haven't practiced. Well, Liszt says, I can't play it either. I'll show you that I can't. He takes it manuscript. Again, one of these feats that boggles the mind. He sight reads the Grieg concerto. Grieg writes, the more difficult it got, the more perfect he plays. Yeah, it's just the nervous system so perfect, Matt, that it's beyond what the normal can conceive.
It's been said that Liszt could sight read anything the first time, but he got bored with it by the second time he got around to it and started taking tremendous liberties with the music. Was that generally true? Is that a true statement? That's
a true statement until at least his 40th year, when he starts himself teaching and he sees more responsibility. But there's that aspect to him. Everything becomes so easy to him because it's so fast. the nervous system. That he will, and then the mixture of the interpreter with the creative mind, and he decides to recompose. This is one of the reasons, and this is how he got this out in the vast amount of transcriptions that he has left. He takes other people's works. As I said, he's also an experimental type mind. He's not truly interested in what's original, what's not, although he is immensely original in his own works, because he gives away. He literally makes so much music after him possible, but he's interested in what can be done with the material, and especially on the piano. So he'll take from a Verdi opera, he'll take from a song of Schubert, he'll take the Beethoven Fifth. All of these things offer challenges to him, because he needed challenge, as probably no other executant musician has ever needed them. Shall we get back to the music? There's so much we can discuss.
I'm just completely boggled by all this.
Yeah.
You know, it's
well, read more. There's much material. He's endless, an endless life story, really.
Has he actually inspired more writings than any other composer?
No, Wagner.
Oh, Wagner.
Yes, Wagner is the most written about man in the history of the world, except one. Can you guess?
I would suppose Christ.
No.
Who would the other one be?
Napoleon.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to go back and consult with the Guinness Book of Records about that.
Okay, let's hear the next etude, and it's called Eroica, the heroic etude.
No reference to Beethoven in this at all?
No. Bolet is the artist. Jorge Bolet in the heroic etude from the 12 Transcendental Etudes.
I'm still flabbergasted. I don't know quite what to say. That's a remarkable work, also.
Remarkable performance. Actually, the next 5 Transcendental Etudes are more remarkably beautiful than these are, and more remarkable as music.
In other words,
these outside of Fufale, which is, I think, a masterpiece of creative writing for the piano.
These are actually show-off pieces?
No. I just think that the thematic material is slim, that he's padding a great deal. But the Wild Hunt, which comes next, and Ricordanza, which is a fabulous poem, the 12th, my favorite, we certainly won't get to it today, is called Chaznège, like Winter Swirls. It's an amazing piece, and I am delighted that you have a taste for Liszt.
I have a couple of questions. We're sampling basically 3 or 4. In other words,
in the generation directly before the present one, I think we were in a rather dull era for pianists. Technically, they did not come up to this music. They also had not extended their repertoires. Liszt has suffered many eclipses, then he would rise again. We're having a Liszt revival, as we're having a romantic revival. We're a little sick of all the Baroque music. The Mahler is big on the record lists now. Liszt is. There's something in the music which seems to relate to the turmoil of our own existence or our own day and age. But all music comes and goes, and each generation looks at it differently. And another 30 years, Liszt will be down, perhaps again. As we said, very few composers are always in, such as Chopin and Mozart. Well, Mozart had a tough time in the 19th century. Of all his piano concertos, only the D minor had any performances at all, really. Not until Schnabel did the Mozart concertos start coming into their own. So it's very much a part of the what's in the air. Now, a generation ago, to play a Liszt fantasy or a transcription from one of the operatic transcriptions, no, it would have been a sacrilege. Critics would have destroyed the adventurous performer. Today, Bolet comes out on stage and does the second half of transcriptions, and the audience just stands up roaring. We like again to see the individual fighting alone, with great obstacles, because we, I think, feel we are fighting, and we are great obstacles.
This style of pianism, the technical, is that a cyclical thing or cyclical? Does that have its ups and downs? Is that what you're implying, that there was another era at some time?
Yes, right now we're producing some fantastic technicians. The generation from 1925 to born within that period. Not so much till after. It starts coming back again, big technique, around 1960.
I see. Was it in existence before?
Oh, look at the giants of Gudovsky, Levine, Rachmaninoff, Hoffman. This golden age,
it's been this thing going on and on. Do you see it as being a response to what's going on in the rest of the world, or is it something that just is inexplainable?
It's a complex question, but as I was just saying, I think we're in a time where Kenneth Clark says we're in the last breath of the Romantic Age. We think that we're in an anti-romantic time. It's not true. Just a new, it's a cruel kind of romanticism. I mean, it's an interesting one. We are akin to the 1840s, especially the 60s. I think now we're getting into a slightly more conservative age again.
Do you think the artist
Always a product of the time, sure.
The artist is the product. He doesn't make the times, or doesn't make taste, for that matter. Or
well,
this thing about
so complex, so much happens, so it's all interwoven. But certainly this music that we are hearing, which you are astonished at, in 1948, this would have been called sham, junk. Well, a lot of people will still call it that. The point is that it now exists again, and people are responding. A composer like Liszt will have many people that just despise his music. I refuse, they will say, to be manipulated by his... because he manipulates you.
Of course he does, yeah.
It's fantastic. But as I said, he didn't apologize for it. He knew exactly what he was doing. He's not always sincere. That's interesting, too. Let's hear one more performance of the Eroica Etude. And it's by super virtuoso Lazar Berman. the heroic etude, Eroica, Franz Liszt, and the performance by Lazar Berman.
David, you have to read something.
Okay.
I want to ask you something about Berman's playing, and
yeah.
I was saving up the question because it occurred to me yesterday that in listening to him play, I don't think I've ever heard piano technique or whatever where one couldn't detect the presence of the left hand in the right and vice versa. In other words, it's as though the left and right hand weren't even attached to the same person.
I know what you mean. It's just such super virtuosity, such control. It's the outer limits, really, of...
You think that highly of Berman?
Yes, when I first heard these recordings, I think in 1962...
Oh, these are not new?
No. Although they're now out on Columbia just now because of his first American tour. This is the product of a recording made in 1956 or 7. Well, when I first heard these Transcendental Etudes and a few other things by Berman, I was in such a state of shock that I just went to bed for 4 months. I mean, not because of envy. That's impossible. It's impossible to play like that. But I just couldn't believe it. And now they're available to the public. These were all, on Russian label, the one Russian label, Melodia,
right.
And a little cult arose for this man. And finally, by 1976, he became one of the pianists in the great line of mythical Russians coming to these shores. It had started with Anton Rubinstein in 1872, when Rubinstein played 215 or something like that concerts in 239 days here. Came over by Steinway's auspices and traveled the whole United States in stagecoach and train, and obviously 215 concerts in 239 days was a lot of work. And he said he'll never do it again, but he came back with $250,000, bought land, and was forever secure.
That's very interesting. What is it about the Russians and pianists? I mean, is it the mystique of being...
A mystique, yes. The steppes of Central Asia or something. They are great pianists.
Is it the way they're trained, or what
they indeed are trained well, yeah. 6 years on Hanon in every key, that kind of thing. Well, I would like to get to the next etude, which is Wild Hunt, and one of my favorites, and it's a reckless work, and inside that middle section is one of the last steps in what Weber started with the supernatural type of romanticism in the forest glens and a little dark and so forth. It's marvelous. Simply wonderful, Matt. Ashkenazy's performance here of Wild Hunt. And in the middle of this hunt, that middle section with that romantic theme, it's like the surge of youthful romance in it, and Liszt's ability to make the piano sound. So many little things are happening in the accompaniment. And as wonderful as Ashkenazy is, you will hear now Lazar Berman in even more reckless performance. See, Liszt was a one-man show throughout Europe. This is better than television to the people then who didn't know that television didn't exist. Well, one becomes silly after hearing such hair-raising playing. The grasp of chords, just, it's almost supernatural to me. Well, Matt, thank you, and I thank the Russian pianist Lazar Berman for thrilling me. And I thank the audience for listening.
You've been listening to